Welcome back. You're watching Newsnight. Now, health experts are urging South Africans to take necessary precautions and safeguard their health to avoid illnesses and holiday burnout during the festive season. Tonight, we're focusing on a healing system that follows principles of nature homeopathy. Let's find out how from Dr. Arnike Redelinghuys, who joins us from Mossel Bay. Thank you very much for your time this evening. It's a very interesting concept that you are presenting to our viewers this evening, particularly because I find that South Africans are not very open to alternative forms of healing, whether it be physical or emotional healing. So maybe just give us a sense of what it is you're speaking about here when you talk about this.
Good evening, Rupiwa, and good evening to all the viewers. Yes, when we look at natural or alternative or more complementary type of lifestyle to help us boost our immune system, it is looking at nutrition and lifestyle. So healthy sleeping pattern, healthy stress management, healthy diet and exercise. And then also at nutrition, adding some vitamins and supplements if you lack any of that, to help you to boost your immune system and to fight off any diseases. In South Africa, we actually do have quite a big following of or movement towards a more natural approach to keeping healthy.
And that's very interesting, because my next question to you, Doc, was to ask about the hours that people work. Some people, just to make ends meet, will work 7 days a week on very little sleep, unable to have healthy or balanced diets. So how does one create that balance with the fast-paced, stressful lives that many of us live in South Africa, and also making sure that our minds and our bodies are as healthy as can be?
That is a very difficult thing for quite a lot of South Africans. We are all given 24 hours a day. That's 8 hours to sleep, 8 hours to work, and 8 hours to relax. So now the working and relaxing, we can't do 8 hours on end. So we need to try to break up those hours. And we need to also say, especially people who work from home, say, this is the time that I have allocated for work, and I'm off work now, I'm not answering my phone, I'm not answering emails, and where they can, leave it for the next day and not try to just finish all the projects. And especially this leads to burnout during the holiday seasons, because people are trying to finish all their work in a very short time so they can go on holiday. And sometimes the holiday is even more stressful, and then that leads to burnout.
Yeah, let's speak about burnout. What is it exactly? I think until recently, many people didn't take it as a serious ailment. That's something that can actually adversely affect you as a person. It is only in recent years, perhaps the last 2-3 years, where we are actually noticing it as something very serious that someone could suffer from. So maybe just explain what it is before we get into some tips on how to protect yourself and your mental health.
When we look at our body's reaction to stress, our body releases cortisol and adrenaline so that we can fight or flight or run away from a stressful situation. And we do need stress so that we can grow. But if we are under constant stress, our bodies cannot keep up with that. And that is then when we start using all sorts of things like caffeine or cigarettes or alcohol to cope with that everyday stress. And eventually our adrenal glands, those are little glands on top of our kidneys that releases adrenaline and cortisol, they can't keep up with all of this. And then that leads to tiredness. It's a chronic tiredness, and depression and anxiety also part of this. So people aren't motivated to get up in the morning and do their job. They can't focus properly on their work. Having a shower and making their bed is an effort. Focus and concentration is a problem. So it's a big, broad spectrum. There are some blood tests that one can do to see what the cortisol levels are, to see if you are at a full blown out or just in the phase of depression or anxiety.
Yeah, and so let's get into some of those tips then. You've just mentioned some of the ways you can see when you're starting to suffer from burnout, those symptoms that you've just described. But what are some of the immediate tips you would give anyone watching this evening to not only when they see the symptoms, act on them appropriately?
The first thing I would recommend is to get a good schedule, to have a good sleeping pattern, that you sleep between at least 10 o'clock at night and 4 o'clock in the morning. That is our adrenals reset time. That will help us to have more energy throughout the day so that we're not running on cortisol all the time. Having a well-balanced diet where you have more nutrition-dense food like your fresh vegetables and fruit and good quality animal protein instead of highly refined and processed foods like takeaways and caffeine and alcohol to help you cope. Exercise is very important. Even if you just walk a little bit every day outside in the sun and the fresh air, that also helps to bring down our cortisol levels, help us to cope a little bit better. And then looking at good supplements, especially B12. Research has shown that a B12 deficiency will definitely lead to symptoms of depression, anxiety, and burnout. And I've seen lots of vitamin B12 and iron deficiency this year. So taking a good supplement will help there. And there are some herbal remedies that we call adaptogens. So they help to adapt our bodies, the cortisol levels. So if we have too much because we're under stress, it helps to bring it down. So it brings down that anxiety. But also when there is too little, where there's that burnout or depression, it helps to bring up the cortisol levels again. So it's almost like the shock absorber of a car. It helps to give you a smoother ride. It doesn't take away the potholes of the life.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for those interesting insights, Dr. Arnike Redelinghuys, joining us there, and she's a homeopathy specialist, talking to us about holiday burnout and how you can protect yourself from that.